Friends, hi. How are you?
We're so excited to finally do this again. We've been missing it, missing people,
missing you.
Yes.
It's so great to see you, and
so much has changed. When was the last date we did? It was summer.
Summer was
summer.
The last time that
like
we
July,
did
right?
our Making Comfort and Joy, and I see Sarah, so we're gonna go live with Sarah. Let's see. Do we do this?
Oh yeah. I think it's that one. Yep.
Invite to join. Let's try it. Here we go. All right, let's see if this works. There she is.
Okay, am I sideways?
You are.
You
Oh,
are.
okay, hold on.
This is amazing. We haven't had anyone sideways before.
Well, it's
Okay.
nice to be able to
Are
use
we?
your
Oh God.
iPad.
Okay, hold on. That's new. So you can tell I've never done this before.
Hey, it's okay. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
It's so great to see you in real time.
How's the West Coast?
You know, it's different. It's great. It's different. It's becoming home. So my home is in two places now, two different time zones, but it's great.
Good.
How long has it been since you've been there officially?
A minute and forever. Yes. Officially 2 years.
Okay.
But the last year and a half kind of doesn't count because, you know, things. But yeah, 2 years and change.
How has it been feeling like just moving and then a pandemic is happening? Has it kind of felt totally weird being in a new place going through all this?
Very. We got to Bainbridge Island and just a few months after that COVID hit. And so it was, okay, well, I guess just Bob and I are going to be seeing each other for the next year. So that was very interesting. But what a beautiful place to spend it. So we're really enjoying it here.
Oh,
That's great.
and before you moved, did you feel like, was part of the move, you seeking out the Lamb and Kid as a store, kind of coming to Bainbridge with an idea of like, okay, I'm going to have a shop. Or did this transpire out of some time and lockdown and
absolutely
with your thoughts?
Absolutely. It started as a road trip. We were going to go on a road trip. Bob was happy. I dragged, it was like, we're going on a road trip. It's either going to be me and the dogs or you, me and the dogs. We went on a road trip and we really didn't have a return date. And so we headed this way. So no, there was no thought to oh, we're going to start a Lamb and Kid, right? So we went on a road trip and, kind of COVID hit and then things started to gel. I dabbled in, dyeing wraps and cowls and things because I can't stop. I think in color, I dream in color. I love textiles. So there was that. And so the Lamb and Kid really didn't get legs. Let's see, I'm trying to do the math here. We opened in July. And so, it's really it's been very quick. And so the accidental happy move came first and then the yarn.
That's I just love that though. It's kind of just a fun little story of just being just going with it and letting things go. And then that creative bug just getting you again. And all of these little happy things, what a cool story.
Well, and what is that old saying? Life is what happens while you're making other plans.
Yeah.
Totally.
This is really that. I hadn't even really, the only plan we had was we're going to go on a road trip for a little while. And then life happened and here we are at the Lamb and Kid.
That's so cool.
So yeah, so we're very happy to be here, and it's kind of a melding of, well, the store is new. I don't, that's not my forte, running a retail establishment, you know? So actually the dyeing and the developing bases and all of that, that comes naturally at this point to me. The new part that really has me on my toes is the store.
Yeah, sure.
So
Sure.
How did you pick out your bases that you were going to start with? Were you, clamoring?
how much time do you have? No. Well, in my knitting career in life, that's always been one of my very favorite things to do. First and foremost, well, I learned to knit, and very quickly after learning to knit, I wanted specific bases and specific colors, because I've always thought back from fabric backward, not from yarn forward. It's like, how do I want my fabric to be? Which is how I came to developing my own bases. So as I started this endeavor, I have a lot of history of developing bases, and I wasn't done developing bases, and I'm still not done, because it's so fun, and it excites me. So I started because I don't know how to stop and not develop bases. So I took some, well, here's another thing. One of the methods I took for this is a little different than what I've normally done, because I can't physically dye all the yarn. So one of the things that sort of guided me through this was, working with people that I'd worked with before, but also I wanted to have a mill dyed base and yarn that would sort of marry really well with the hand dyes. So when people say, well, why is there a Lamb and Kid? Why is there Diamond Lane? Why is there milled? Why is there hand dyed? Well, they're made literally to go together. And so the hand dyes that Bob and I do in the lean-to are the chocolate sprinkles on top of everything, is how I kind of look at it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And has Bob always been dyeing with you? I mean, I know that he has come along to shows and helped set up and done big industry events with you physically, but like, has he always been a dyer too?
No, no. Bob is a chemist by trade. He was a chemist for a pharmaceutical company. So he tries to implement science in the lean-to dye shed, and I'm always like, art trumps science. Then we'll talk science. No, so he's always been a support to me, whether it's, twisting yarn or prepping yarn or filling pots. And still, I do 99.9% of the dyeing. There's a couple colors that I'll let him dye, or a couple bases. Basically, he can dye taffy on Birdie. So that's what he's allowed to dye. So that was to roundabout answer the question about developing bases. They've all been developed. I'm excited and love to knit with all of them, but I can't dye all of them, but they're all made to go together.
Awesome. What would you say that your favorite weight is? I mean, I know it's hard.
It's so hard. It's like picking a favorite dog. I would say, gosh, okay, can I give two answers?
Yes.
Okay. So my favorite weight is probably a worsted weight, but with the caveat of I like to mix bases to get a worsted weight. Like, for instance, I'm knitting a fingering on a carry along Birdie right now on a size 10, and anyway, I love to mix bases, but I'm a worsted gal. We're from Michigan. It's cold.
Yeah. Totally.
You know, so.
Yeah.
So, have you, when the shutdown happened, did you find yourself moving into different things or doing different things with your time, or did you just kind of just kind of go into your habits of something like, these are the things that I love to do to make myself through? Or did you like, oh my gosh, I got into something completely new?
Like, were you needle pointing or, you know, making bread or,
Well,
you know, I mean, I do know that you like to cook.
I do.
And bake.
I do. I like to cook. I really like to bake. Like, I love to bake and gently make people eat it. I try not to be too bossy, but I'm like, I baked this for you. Please eat it.
Yes.
So when lockdown happened, I had dabbled a little bit in sewing. So there was that. But then I was really intimidated because I didn't have enough skills to kind of just really get into it. So I kind of put sewing to the side. You know, I went back to, you know, the first love. I just, you know, dug in and knit a lot. I baked a lot. And I would just, I baked things that were, quote, on the healthy spectrum, but they weren't that healthy. Like, oh,
Right.
but it has zucchini in it.
Right.
And 4 cups of chocolate.
Totally.
So yeah, a lot of binge watching, and a lot of muffin baking, which I have some. Oh, and granola.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. So there was that. So knitting, cooking.
Sure. That's great. Sure.
Yes. How about you
Yeah,
guys?
I think that for us, you know, we just didn't, I feel like I'm really back into knitting now and reading, but there was such a long period of time where we just like, I just couldn't, I mean, most of 2020, I just wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a blur.
Yeah.
It's a blur.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm finding a lot of things I blocked out. Like we talked about, what was the last knit along we did? And I was like, oh, it was, wow, 2020. And then the honeycomb.
Right.
I totally forgot about
We did
one, so.
Stephen's painting honeycombs.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
With this
Beautiful.
awesome fluffy Surrey that Gwen from Bella Filato Studio dyed up in custom colorways for her. Liz kind of
Oh,
out, not because it wasn't beautiful, but it was a blurry.
Yeah.
Blurry
There's a lot of things I've noticed I've forgotten completely. But I did, the last night, I got a couple rows in and I was like, I miss this. This is good. So having that moment of getting there.
Yeah.
totally. Because I don't know if you feel the same too. When knitting is also your job, sometimes you can't force it. Sometimes you have to force it because it's your job and you have deadlines and things. There was a period, I mean, many months, even leading up to COVID, that I just didn't knit. You know, I was kind of going through a transition, a life change and things. And we were on this road trip and, you know, so I didn't pick up the needles. And then, but once a knitter, once a hardcore knitter, always a knitter. And when it tells you to cast back on, you're powerless and you just have to go where the needles take you.
Absolutely. And I feel like, we've talked about this before, maybe just in conversation, you know, with other customers in the shop, or maybe we've talked about it on knitting, on making comfort and joy. But I feel like, you know, there was a period of time where, okay, if I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't knitting. But I noticed that when I am feeling my mojo returning, I will be looking at patterns and I will be buying yarn from other indie dyers. And I feel like when you get out of that slump and you get back into it, like, you know, buying yarn and knitting is hope for the future. You know, I mean, it is like, it's very much
Looking forward.
It's looking forward. What, you know, when you are preparing yourself for knitting, it's not just, for me, it signifies hope. So.
And I think for me, I kind of abused a little bit of it, of the like so many deadlines. Or in the beginning of 2020, we already had so many things going when the shutdown happened that then all of a sudden it was all these things we had to do, just the two of us, with knitting deadlines. And I think I finally then was just like, I'm done knitting. But talking with people again, of like getting onto the Saturday morning Zooms, and when everyone's showing all the different things they're knitting and doing, like, even if I wasn't enjoying my own knitting because I kind of burned my bridges a little bit, I kind of have a stigma now of sitting in my chair with my needles. It brings back things. But it's just so exciting to see everyone else knit. And I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Print me that pattern too. I got to do that one. I have no idea when those are going to happen, but I really I'm enjoying feeling excited about the things.
And that's one of the
Yeah.
things that I feel like, that's why it's really good to get back to these evening chats and to be inspired by other people, and to talk to, for all of us here, you know, I see all these people commenting that they're like, oh, getting back together. And it's just like,
It's
you
an
know,
hour of endorphins, whether I've done anything with it or not. It's good juices I need.
yes. And it's really good to be back with your people and to be around people that understand you in a way that you don't understand if you aren't creating something with your hands. I mean, it's, you know, yeah.
Yes, and when it goes back to the community too, when you see what other people are doing, and it makes you feel, you know, less alone sitting home behind a Zoom screen. And again, like looking forward, it's hopeful. And I've said for years, I mean, there's a lot that goes into a little skein of yarn. Not only is it a pretty little package, it's entertainment, it's tactile, it's therapy, it's a potential heirloom for someone you love. I mean, there's a lot that goes into one little skein of yarn.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a way for you to show the people around you that you're thinking of them, that you love them, that you miss them. I mean, it's just,
this is the story that goes with each of them, and whether it's the picking out the project and then the skein that you know who made it and when they made it, or where you were, or what the place reminds you of. It's just amazing how all of it brings it together to make it so nostalgic of what you're doing, more than anything else I've done, I think.
yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you're literally weaving a fabric. I mean, not to be too like, but it's like you're weaving a fabric of life. A tale is like, oh, I was so and so, and with so and doing such and such when I knit that, and you know, it's a.
And all the thing that we get, it's very like nerdy and trekky of us to be like we get each other's wavelengths, and everyone else would be like weird, you know, like no one else. If you don't, you don't get it.
Right. You don't have to explain yourself. We were talking about that on Saturday at our Saturday Stitch, where it's just sort of like, you know, doesn't matter what sort of thing. And I mean, there were multiple people that were there that maybe somebody has been recovering from surgery and it has been hard and they've been at home alone. And, you know, multiple people, work is super stressful, and then they're working from home, and so there's really no actual divide from work and home. And and when we can just kind of like gather together for an hour, 2 hours to sit and chat about this thing, that it doesn't matter if I think maybe there's this meme that's circulating around Instagram that I saw yesterday where it's like, you know, it's a picture of an FBI agent with a headset on, and it says, you know, my FBI agent, after the 43rd time I've rewatched this Turkish.
I saw that one. Yes.
Where it's like, if you were listening in to this, you would be like, what does that even mean?
Yes, exactly. It's like, we're really not that interesting. Oh, wait, yes, we are.
Absolutely. So.
Funny.
When it comes to color, because I feel like out of so many people that we know, when it comes to, like, I always think about, like, what's Sarah think about these colors, or what would Sarah choose? I really feel like you've been this huge, influential kind of style icon for color, and I always think, what do you look for in color when you're wearing it, when you're dyeing it for other people? Do you dye things based on what people ask or request, or are you like, you know what, this is what I'm into? And I think I know, but you know, how do you go about like deciding, creating a color palette when you want to start? What does that look like for you?
I mean, I love to have requests and hear from people what they would love to see. If someone said, oh, I would love to see a blah, 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 sure, but it's going to kind of be my spin on it. I'm real particular about color. So the short answer is I don't know how to put it, but it's not like the color moves through me. That's not it. It's just I'm just very I think in color. So really, I dye what excites me.
Yeah.
I dye what excites me. I kind of think back from fabric too, because I feel like people are very afraid of color. And as I say this, I'm sitting here in a charcoal sweater and white t-shirt and blue jeans because that's what I normally wear. It's like a plaid or something dark, but I love to surround myself with color and things. But I really enjoy, again, thinking from the fabric back, and sometimes you need a little extra to get that amazing finished object, that amazing fabric and FO. You've got to have some zip in it. And don't be afraid of using colors that you don't normally wear to push forward your favorite colors. People will be like, oh, I don't do scum. Well, you should, because you know what that's going to do? That's going to push your beautiful pinks and purples and blues to the forefront. And you're just, it's going to open up a whole new world for you. So all that to say, that's kind of how I go about the whole dyeing process. And I also go, I have a real kind of a nostalgic bend to me. And, I think, Grandma Jean had this coffee cup, and, Grandma Beth had this lava lamp, all of that. And so not only do I think in color, I have color memories.
Yes.
So they make their way out to yarn.
Do you do one color at a time, or do you usually like a few that complement each other when you're working on them?
Both, but more often than not, it's a few.
Yeah.
Because, once you start on one, then, it's like, oh, but what if I did this? Or, what if I did that? And so usually 4 to 6, maybe 8 come out of a run when I come up with a new color.
Yeah. And does it, when you're working on, like, when you've got something in your head and you're like, this is the color I'm imagining, are you able to kind of get that in the pot when you're mixing and doing that? Or is it kind of a few different runs that you're taking till you land on the right recipe?
Certain colors I can get pretty close because I have a history of doing them, or I just know, like, if you want a really true, say it's a pink, or if you want an orange leaning, if I want plaid as my favorite color, or if I want, which I love that color. But some colors I'm just completely like, oh my gosh, that is really trippy. I can't believe that happened, which is kind of how my new color trippy was born. So I'm still surprised by how some colors turn out, which is another reason it's still fun for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
What are you?
And then there's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
What are you knitting right now?
What am I knitting right now? I'm knitting a few things. I just finished this, and right now I'm knitting this funny thing that it's like, is it a shawl? Is it a bandana? But the reason this came to be is I was testing mixing colors and bases. So this will become a little recipe here in another week or so. But I was testing mixing our Birdie and Mo with the new Elmer Tweed dye. And so, like, this one is Atomic Elmer Tweed with Chalet Chic Birdie, and it's really pretty fun. So I'm knitting a lot of recipe things right now to test yarns and things. But I just finished this shawl. It's called the Upstate of Mind shawl. And so yeah, this will work with any of our worsted weights, and we're going to release this pattern in the next few days.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And that's two different things from, like, writing patterns and designing patterns and making that work out with math and design, and then color too. Like, that's a lot.
I do a lot of casting on, and then I have a couple of friends that will then reverse engineer and write the pattern for me. Because I do not pretend to be a pattern designer, but I know enough to be dangerous of this is, well, I cast on and see what happens, and then do some tweaking, and then yes, so that's how the patterns come to be.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yes. So you will never see me. Well, we are getting ready to release. We're going to Stitches West in March. Yes. So we're going to be at Stitches West, and we will be releasing a little sweater there that how that came to be is there was 5 skeins of yarn on my kitchen counter that I really liked. And so I just cast on a neckline and went from there. And people were like, well, you should make this a beginner's pattern. I'm like, well, someone's going to have to do that for me. That. But good news is we've had it tech edited and graded for all sizes, and a few people have knit it, a few of our friends here at the store, and we'll be releasing that. It's going to be a great beginner pattern.
So cool.
So.
Awesome. A couple of people are asking about the sweaters behind you. Would you talk about those a little bit?
Yes. So this is the Soldatna from Caitlin Hunter, Boylan Knitworks. And that is knit up in our Teddy and Mo held double. Beautiful. The colors are loam, bitter orange, taffy, and plaid is my favorite color. Or no, yes, plaid is my favorite color.
So awesome. I love how the scum really elevates and makes the
It's scum thing.
Yes. I love the loam color. I love it anyway. But
yes.
I just love that I would wear that top. I would love how it would look on me, and I would have never I would have picked those colors.
Yeah.
Yes. I love it.
Well, I know, isn't it perfect? My friend Margot knit this. And then this one, please forgive me, I don't remember what it's called, but someone is bringing me a sheet that is Glenview. I forgot what it was. It's the Glenview sweater, and this is knit out of Todd worsted in stone.
I love Todd worsted.
Isn't it great?
Oh,
Yeah. He's a show off. It's a show off, that one. And
yes.
then the blue is a new blue called Slightly Choppy. That's a hand dye that I did, and so that'll be coming soon. Do I have any other sweaters? Oh, way back there. Oh no, you can't see it, but it's the My First Raglan from Jared at Brooklyn Tweed. First of all, I don't care if you've knit 100 raglans. That pattern is phenomenal.
Yes, it's I cast on a neckline. That was as far as I got, but now I'm motivated. After I saw yours, I'm motivated to just knit it because absolutely.
So we one of our kids here at the store, her name is Pam, and she is known for knitting multiples. She'll like pick a project and just go for it. She's on like 5 or 6 now out of Todd worsted. Her colors are beautiful. So yes, I can attest that it's a great sweater. I've knit one, and then a friend of mine knit another one for a shop sample, and I used Elmer, Tweed, and Birdie held double.
Awesome. And did you do the you did the sleeves, were they not tapered?
I did the straight sleeves.
You did straight sleeves. Okay. I couldn't remember if you. Okay.
I want to see someone do the balloons, though. They're so cute. The little poof sleeve.
Yes. I love that. I love that. And you knit Andrea Mowry's stripes with Todd, didn't you?
Yes, Todd DK.
Yeah.
We have it. Oh, it's right here in front of me. Look at this.
I would love to see it.
Yes. This is in Kitten and Crow, and this is the Todd DK, and it's a beauty. And again, Pam, who knits multiples, I think she's knit 4 or 5 of them, and she did one in Island Bunny and Bowie that's pretty darling. So this is a great sweater. Also, Andrew, we have a sample knit of Andrea Mowry's Douglas cardigan. She released it right before Rhinebeck.
Okay.
Yeah, adorable. The nice thing about Todd is it not only is very cuddly, and this goes back again to the thing I'm sorry, I'm a broken record, but fabric, because you have people, the knitters in the, I love, the Shetlands and the Arons and the very stiff, wools and things. And then others are like, nope, only soft all the time.
Sure.
I think Todd kind of hovers that fence nicely. It's cuddly, but you've got that extra yak that keeps its shape. So you can do cuddly, you can do cables. I mean, it's really, really, it's a nice sweater yarn. It's not going to lose its shape on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like that's the only reason when people hold multiples together in, like, say, a fingering, I'm looking for the fabric itself as well. Like, that's more than getting gauge. I'm more interested in the fabric. So I don't prefer, like, if I'm knitting a DK, or sorry, if I'm trying to aim for a DK weight with a fingering and a lace weight together, I want, I really kind of want to go for that 21-20. I do not like an 18 stitch gauge. Like, I don't like worsted weight. It's too loosey goosey for me because I know that it's going to create this float, and that's great. But what I want is, in any sweater, really, I want a gauge, like a texture that's fairly firm, whether it's soft and mohairy, which is basically all I will do now. Or just like a worsted weight gauge. You know, I'm not going to knit a sport weight at 18 stitches. I'm just not going to do it. So that's why I love being able to mix the bases.
Yes, mix those bases.
And the color combinations that sometimes people come up with. Sometimes when I'm looking for color inspiration or to see how these wacky colors might go together, and I'm not very brave. I am not brave when it comes to mixing colors. But sometimes I think it's really helpful to hop onto Tin Can Knits has a really amazing blog post about it for their Love Note sweater. And even going to the Love Note sweater pattern on Ravelry and then seeing what people have done is, like, really, really inspiring, because people have branched out and done really wild and wonderful things. So people that, like, plaid is my favorite color. I was looking at, I have 2 different batches of, I have, I guess it's all in Birdie that I have purchased. Liz has some, I have some, but she's got one skein, I think, that was in a kit, and I have 3 skeins that I bought on their own, and mine read really orangey, pinky, really fluorescent, whereas hers read a little truer, like an orange red, but much more red. And so I'm like, oh shoot, what am I going to do with this? I love this orangey color, but, like, do I play it up? Do I turn it down? Do I add tweed to it? Like, do I add something like maybe even like a Brooklyn tweed loft? Do I add something like Embers, which is an orange colorway?
That would be gorgeous. Oh, please do that.
I mean, and you know, Michelle, who works at the shop on, well, she was here today, but she's here Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. We've been talking about just sort of like, sometimes, and Liz would feel like this too, I think, we kind of get despondent about, like, I don't finish as much as I start. We knit a lot, we cast on a lot, we take pictures and post them on Instagram and talk about it, and I do have startitis, but it's also, like, part of that, I don't feel quite so bad always now, because Michelle's like, hey, that's just part of what you do. And it's like figuring out what looks good together, and it's almost like sometimes when I'm casting on things and posting little swatches, and Liz is posting little it's like, well, you can see how it looks. I'm taking a little bit of the work out of it. And so that's why I like to see what you're working on too.
And I think once this has come about of the mixing bases together, it's like created, like, the color options are now infinite. For me, it almost gets overwhelming that I'm like, I don't know how to choose which color I should do.
They're infinite.
It's infinite.
Yes. Yes. Well, and to your point also, Melissa, you know, casting on a lot of things, maybe not finishing a lot of things, but posting. It is. I mean, it's your job. It's my job. It's to help people decide what to do, how to use our products, and how to, we want everyone to be happy with what they have and use. And so to do a little work for them too, because who knows them better than we do, right? To be like, we love this, you know, we think you'll love this one. So I look at it I'm giving you a little bit of permission to be like, because I've had to do it myself, believe me. But it's like that's one of our jobs, and frankly, it's kind of one of my favorite parts of my job.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and for us, like, I mean, we've been talking a lot this week about we're both pretty behind,
I was
or
like, you can say
on,
behind.
we're pretty behind on our current knit along that we're doing, and and there's one of the things I think, especially through the pandemic, for me, that I always resist this in my personality. It's just part of my personality, and I'll just be really honest. I'm not really good at learning new things. I'm not really good at persevering. I'm not really good at sticking with something, always seeing something through it, whether it is my personality, whether it's because I'm an Aries, whether it's whatever. It's a bunch of things. Do I deal with maybe a little ADHD? There's a lot of things, but I feel like we've been talking this week about going forward and working on this knit along alongside other people, because I feel like it's making me a better knitter. Working through this bobble row I was working on it for hours this morning, just one row. And my first thought is, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to, I'll find something else. I'll do something else. I can't, I don't have enough time for this. But it's like, taking the time and doing those things, for me, like, it's a confidence booster, and it's also one more way for us to be able to help people. Like, I am now, even if I stopped the sweater now, I am a better knitter because I took the time to muscle through that tubular cast on, where I had to really sequester myself. I had to be I couldn't have anyone around me for days, and that's why I didn't start it until like the 5th or the 6th. Same thing with this bobble row. I was ready to do it last night, and I had to reteach myself again, and I was like, I can't do it. It's 10 o'clock at night. I can't. And so
it's gonna, it continues to make us masters of our trade, and also to be like, if we're telling other people they can do it, like, we're gonna have to do it. Like, we gotta do it. as well as, like,
the knit alongs will keep you honest, right?
Yes. I also, like, I want to wear a sweater, like a new sweater at some point. It's been a while. I need a new sweater, one that I've knit. Like, even today, I'm like, oh boy, I'm running out of new things to wear on TV. Like, I'm gonna
and the funny, I totally agree. So your bobbles Mount Everest was my German short rows in the round. We've all done a million. We've all done a million, like, shawls with short rows and things like that. But for some reason, my brain was having a really hard time with, okay, I'm in the round, I'm doing these short rows. This has to fit over my neck. And so my Brooklyn Tweed first raglan, which I've knit a million raglan sweaters, but he had such a great video in his pattern. I sat in a quiet room. Bob had to go away. Had to take the dogs. I sat there and, like, I am going to conquer these German short rows. I did, but it's been about a month or so, and now I'm nervous to do it again. But I know I've done it, so anyway.
Yeah. And I think that's just sort of like, for me, it's also a testament to, or a reflection of just where I'm at, as emotionally, even just able to absorb, I think that most people, like, when they experience trauma, tiny and large, you just you don't maybe have the ability to do much more than the normal day-to-day stuff.
So your survival.
And I think
the brain just shuts down. It's inflamed. It can't do.
And so I feel like, while I'm not going to pretend that we aren't still in a pandemic, I also do feel like I'm able to rest in certain ways and take care of myself in certain ways, so that those receptors, now I'm like, because I would not, if you would have said, oh, let's do the stone crop pullover, if you would have said that 4 months ago, I would have been like, yep, nope, not doing it. and I'm ready to do it now. Like I can do it now, and I feel like it's because, okay, I'm able to see a little bit of light on the other side. I'm in a much better place emotionally maybe than I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 18 months ago. And while I know not everybody's there yet, and
yeah,
I do feel, I feel really grateful.
Like I was talking to my therapist, like it's not all or nothing. It's like just like getting some things, like maybe not as strong as we were, but like a little bit, and it's just like, and it might go the other way, you know.
Yeah.
Who knows what's gonna happen? But it's like when it takes having those moments to be like, I feel good enough that I want to challenge myself. This, you know.
Exactly. Baby steps. Yep. It all builds on itself.
And when you're not feeling it, nothing.
Right. And I am the person. I am a Pam, where I want, if I like a sweater, I will knit 6 of them. Exactly the same, because I know what, and I just want to knit.
Like how many of those baby sweaters have you done?
Woo! 20 easily, you know. And it's, for me, it's all about like color and texture play. Like my knitting life isn't, but I don't need to be challenged brain wise necessarily. The challenge and the joy for me is seeing color and texture, and that's
just making fabric. I know people will be like, well, that's just boring. It's stockinette. I'm like, are you kidding? That's potato chip knitting. It's exactly what I want. I want potato chip knitting, you know? And so I just making fabric is it's magical to me.
It's magical. And I think that, and I feel so lucky that we can have this together, this magical thing, all of us, even little bits, even when you're not in a place where you're like, I haven't knit in 6 months, having the yarn around, and just like people will say, I just keep it in a bowl. I just keep it in a bowl.
Happy.
Well, that's what we've got. Melissa's helped us collect yarn, adding to our collection all this pandemic time where we haven't really knit, but felt the love by receiving a lot of it, and it keeps coming into my house. And that's like, what are you gonna do with all this? And it's like, I'll get there or I won't get there. It's just is, and we tease about it's helping with insulation and keeping our house warm.
Well, it's energy conservation on so many levels, and you put it in a pretty bowl on your bookshelf, and it becomes part of the decor.
Yeah, and we talked about this on over the weekend a couple weeks ago, but just like, and also kind of washing away that stigma that comes with when you talk about like stash or hoarding, reframing that a little bit. And our friend B talked about this a lot, and I love this so much. So I'm just gonna keep saying it, and I'm gonna keep telling everybody B about this, but it's like your collection. And you would never feel shame about collecting art. No. And so yarn is exactly the same thing, even more intimate in some ways, because you know who dyed it, you know the story. It was dyed after something really specific, and so it's like you would never feel shame about. So even if you never knit with all of your skeins, even if you have the intention to, it's just...
Well, a lot of collections. I mean, think about any of the collections we saw growing up that you would go into someone's house and you can tell on display, they have these things in collections. I mean, they're not touching these things. They're for looking only. They're not for use, you know? And it's like, so use ours. That's just the part of the collection. That's what you do with collections. You know?
Yes,
it's enjoy them multiple times a day. Every time you walk by this one area of your house, or all of those feelings,
or every room in your house, right? What it might be right now.
Well, and also, you never know when inspiration is going to strike.
Yep.
Yes.
Because you could pull out, a skein from, 7 years ago, and it's finally the right time, and it's just that little something that's the perfect thing for what you're working on. And never say never.
Yes,
you just never know when it's going to come to the forefront, and it's time for it to be in the spotlight.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot, especially with the club, having all of these one-offs and not having like large enough projects. But then seeing some people come in, customers will come in and have done a project with all of these different colored, projects, whether it's a sweater or shawls, and you're like, oh, I have those colors, I can do that. And it's like, that's been really, really cool, is everyone has got so many great, inspiring. I'm really bad at staying in the loop of things, but because being with customers is keeping me in the loop with things of like, what's
yes.
And
it
so
takes a village.
and it's upfront and personal instead of just on the screen too. You get to see it in action and see what people are working on, and that's a really fun way to get in with it too.
Yeah.
I like to encourage people. They'll say, whether it's a brand new knitter who is saying something like, oh, I can't knit with that, that's too nice, I'm still learning. No, this is actually exactly when you should be, because people underestimate, first of all, you're knitting it, you should be enjoying this.
Yeah.
Enjoy the process. This is your time and energy. But then also, it's kind of like, oh, we only eat on the good china, at our anniversary. No, if you love it, use it. If it brings you joy, knit with that skein of yarn. I mean, I'm a big proponent of, if you love it, use it.
Absolutely.
Yep, I've got to somehow start getting better about, because I definitely had that thing growing up. That was just my thing of like saving all the nice things.
Save for nice.
And it's just like,
I grew up with that too.
And so I think I've got ingrained in some of these things of like waiting for the right pattern, or just like, what is it? Like, I've got this, but I've got to find the right thing to knit it, instead of just being like, ooh, this is it. And they feel too special to touch, and I've got to move past that. And I think it's more of like using that muscle. The more I use that muscle, it will become easier.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we wanted to ask you is, or maybe customers are wanting to know, but how do you feel about maybe a little Diamond Laine or Lamb & Kid selection at Wool and Honey?
I feel fabulous about it. I feel like it needs to happen. Should we make it happen?
Yes.
We would
Yay!
love it.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I would love it. It would be it's such a privilege. I would love it.
Oh,
that would be wonderful.
We always love working with you. So, I mean, we are ready for
any time that you're ready. We would love it. It's one of those things where I trust you implicitly, and it's just sort of like, Sarah, just come
I'll
up
whip
with
something up for you. I'll whip something up for you.
come up with something and we'll do it.
Yes.
So
thank you. Well, it's very good timing because, well, first of all, everything here is very new because we're only about 6 months old. But one of our new bases that still has yet to be unveiled is our custom socks/shawl yarn. And that comes at the end of the month. And so there will be a limited mill dyed palette, but the rest is going to be all hand dyed. So that's coming. And but yes, we will, and by we I mean me, you, love it, and the mouse in my pocket. We will come up with something really fun to have at my Michigan local yarn shop.
Love it. We're so excited. It would be an honor.
Yes.
So we'd love it.
Well, thank you.
And
you.
Whenever you're getting back to Michigan too,
yes,
we'd love to see you.
When
I'll be there.
When it feels, we still haven't talked yet, really, and people are, we can just talk about it now a little bit because we're not. I don't think we're ready yet, still, to do a bigger in-person event. I'm not sure that we're
not mentally, or
I think we don't.
We're just gathering.
Yeah, it's not necessarily
too much of a question mark in this.
Yeah.
And we haven't really planned we haven't planned any real in-person events so far this year, and I don't know. I'm not going to say yes and I'm not going to say no. Most likely we probably won't do anything, but when we do,
I would love to be there.
And another thing that we wanted to talk about too is that until that time, we have a lot of people that we love, all of you that are here, all of you that are watching.
Hi, everybody.
And, you know, it's been a really hard time for a lot of people. It's a hard time for people not to be able to gather. It's a hard time for people we know that there are people that have had job changes in very significant and very devastating ways, and illness and sickness. And it's really
kids,
hard.
It's long. It's just
Parents,
going on
if you are
forever.
a parent, I mean, all of the things kind of bumbling and tumbling on top of each other, and it's a lot. And Liz and I wanted to do one little thing for everyone, and we want to give everyone, it's live on our website now, but we want to give everyone a $25 gift certificate to use sometime online on our website throughout 2020.
Oh.
So,
something if we can kind of just help. I mean, I think it feels like just wave after wave after wave of getting hit and not knowing when to come up for air, or trying to come up for air and then now just losing hope and why come up for air, because it's just keeps coming. And we're just kind of hoping that, like, if we can bring a little light to someone who's having a rough day or someone needing a gift, we're having a little bit more energy, and we would like to do a little bit more giving and caring for people. And
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
We want to make it through
everyone
this year.
has been super supportive and loving to
Yes.
us in so many ways.
Yep.
And
that we're still here. I mean, it was scary in the beginning. We didn't know if a yarn shop in Cedar was going to make it. So
absolutely,
2 years after that, we're still a thriving yarn shop is because of everyone here, and because of our people,
and because of you. You gals are amazing.
well,
it's been a road, and we know if it's been a road for us, it's been hard for so many people. And
absolutely.
We'd like to spread a little bit more, so we hopefully can get through some more months that I think are going to be intense.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so it's something that you'll be able to find under our events. And yes, you can give it, we'll probably put a social media post up tomorrow too, but yes, you can give this to it as a gift to anybody. Tell as many people as
There's
you
no
can.
limit.
There's no limit. We're not, I mean, it's one limit per person, but give this, alert any of your knitting friends. Give it to somebody who really needs it. So maybe you don't at this moment.
And I even thought about today too, is that even if it's not a knitter, like there's a lot of self-care things. We talked about just like trying to take some time to self-care and reminding ourselves that, I mean, a candle or getting a candle for someone, or some botanical soap or tea, or just some other things. Like it doesn't just have to be for a knitter. It's friends that are like, go find something to have a gift for someone.
We have I know our friend, I know Kara, January 1,
oh yes, Kara,
yes. So, and I love your nails, Kara, and we have lots of nail polish that's made locally, and so you could, get a couple of things of nail polish, one for a couple of friends or whatever. So this gift certificate works for everything, I think, except for the yarn club.
Oh.
So, anyway,
that's amazing.
You'll find it under our events tab, and it's called a silver lining. So that even though it's really rough, there's still beauty. And even if you're not feeling it now, we hope you know that you're worth it too. Yep. I mean,
and we
even
want
if you're
you
not
to have some love for yourself, and we want you to enjoy something on us while we know what it's like being in there. We might feel a little bit better today. Talking to all you guys always makes us feel better in the moment.
Absolutely.
But there's been some of those dark moments where these things,
It's been very heartwarming. I mean, I haven't been able to keep up with everybody that's on here, but every so often I'll glance down and just all the hearts, and it's really warmed my heart to be part of the Comfort and Joy series. Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely.
And I see some comments already that the cart might be frozen, or we might be having some issues. We're keeping this up throughout the weekend, so there is no rush. Don't rush to the website. You can check out this for the rest of the weekend, and just
lots of
just take your time, and it's just a little gift from
deep breaths.
it's a gift from us to you. So
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Sarah, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
spending time with us.
Oh my gosh,
We're
you
so-
guys.
We're so excited for your story and just being out on that cute. I did get a chance years ago to get to that little island, and it's so nostalgic, and it's just so cool to just hear about the trip that landed you there. And I love the two that like it takes that like just trusting and just like going with something spontaneous, and what amazing thing comes out of that is just so cool. I love
And being
it.
open and receptive
Yep.
to it. Like, thank you for being open and receptive to what comes. I mean, like, that's a gift to
Yep.
a lot of people, whether yes, maybe you're the one that's signing your name on the line and you're the one that's hanging it out there. But it is really amazing.
Well, thank you. It's been a leap, but again, I go back to life's what happens when you're making other plans, and here we are, and we're having fun.
Yep.
We're having fun.
And again, in one of those dark times of just being able to, creativity is still around during those moments,
Yeah.
and caring and generous and all this love that you do see those things that yin and yang, that other side, and we're trying to remember that as much as we can.
Keep your head up and your needles busy.
Yes, I love it.
You too. Well,
Thank you so much, Sarah.
it's so
You guys, thank
wonderful.
you.
All thank you everyone
Thank you,
for
everyone.
tuning in, and it's so
We're so happy
so
to
great.
get going again.
so
Thank you.
All
so
right,
much.
love you all.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.